when I met Z and started, hearing her story and started seeing things through her perspective, through her lens, I realized a lot about myself. Hey guys, if you're enjoying our videos, don't forget.
Like and subscribe below. Welcome back, you guys. Happy Sunday. It is Z and Charles, and we're doing our usual Sunday routine where we're driving to Costco. Yesterday, we did a little short or day trip with the family, and Charles and I were talking, and somehow it came up a conversation that my mother and I had. And she asked me, "Are you happy in your marriage?" And that kind of sparked a conversation while driving back. And I don't know if you want to cut it here.
Uh, yeah, it was an interesting comment because I think about that a lot, and I know personally that I'm very happy in the marriage, and I can't imagine, I guess, not being happy because because I feel like I'm always growing in our marriage, and I feel
Yeah.
like uh
Not to cut you off,
okay.
my love, but just to give you guys backstory for those of you who are new to our channel. Charles and I met back in 2020. He had two children prior to me meeting him. And we got married in 2022, and together we had a almost 16-month-old son. And I've adopted my two bonus babies who are 8 and 7 years old. Charles is an actuary, and I'm a family medicine physician. And obviously, you can tell we're not your typical, I guess, quote unquote, family. So my mother, I think where she was coming from is, after sometimes a few years of marriage, you can get caught in the mundane of it all. So she just always likes to do her, I guess, check in with her daughter just to make sure things are still on the up and up. And so that kind of sparked our conversation there. I'm sorry I cut you off. Go ahead, Charles.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
So I think from my perspective, I'm always happy in our relationship because, well, first off, I respect you a lot, to me, it's really important that you respect the person that you're with, and also, uh, Z challenges me a lot, which helps me grow as an individual.
Let me ask you,
Yeah,
how do you give an example of how I have challenged you?
yeah, absolutely. So prior to meeting Z, I'd been married before. My prior wife was a Caucasian person also. I'd never been in a relationship with or really had that many close acquaintances who were black, and now I never considered myself to be somebody who had like racial biases or anything like that. But what was interesting to me in my relationship with Z when I met Z and started, hearing her story and started seeing things through her perspective, through her lens, I realized a lot about myself that I didn't know, and that I feel like, had I not met her, I probably would have gone through the rest of my life with my old perspective. Um, and I feel like I could go on a long time about this, but let me just give an example. So my whole life, I've been I've been a person of the majority. So, for example, I'm a white heterosexual male. That's what I don't know what it's like to go into a place and be uncomfortable because of the way that I look or the way that people perceive me. Um, and for me, until I was personally close to somebody who is not, in the same position, I didn't really have need to see things from a different perspective. And what I like about it is that now I constantly challenge my own, perceptions, my own perspectives about these things. Wonder, like, in this situation, when I see things now in this situation, how would I feel if I was a black person? How would I feel if I was a black
Right. Well,
lady?
it's just being
Yeah,
empathetic, right?
correct.
And I think to kind of piggyback off of what Charles was saying, we come from two different walks of life and we were in two different phases of life, so to speak. Charles had young kiddos. I was in residency, didn't have any children. And I think why we work is we challenge each other, at least from my perspective, but we're also receptive in regards to feedback and we're open to learn, right? There's a lot of things with Charles, and I'm like, I'm not sure because I don't know how sensitive or aware he is of these things. But what I found was that he was open to learn. And sometimes I feel like he's more aware of certain situations than I am. And same for me, right? There's a lot of situations or places we've been. I'm like, I don't know if I want to go, right? Whether it's because, you know, the people or the bugs outside or whatever it is, but I now trust him. And so even though it may make me uncomfortable, I believe that my husband has my best wishes at heart. And he would never put me in a situation that he thought would make me, what's the words,
Comfortable.
uncomfortable or put me at a risk of harm, right? And so I think that's the thing in regards to our relationship. I think it could be very easy, and no offense to anyone who's in a relationship with someone who agrees with them or is from the same culture. I definitely can understand that. But knowing my personality, I've always looked for a challenge, so to speak. I don't want to say our relationship is a challenge, but it allows me to flex my emotional, my spiritual, all different muscles, so to speak. And I think I'm appreciative of that. Each and every day I'm learning from Charles. And I think vice versa, which is why I think we work so well. From the outside, I think to some people, our relationship or our situation may appear difficult. And yes, our relationship, I think you would agree, definitely takes work. But I think it's work that him and I are both energetic and excited, you know, to do, right? And I'm sorry, you're going to say something.
No, that's okay. No, we're both very strong-minded, strong-willed people.
Yeah.
But I think that it works because even though we're challenging each other, we always respect the other person, and it's not challenging from the point of, like, demanding somebody see things your way. It's kind
Yeah.
of it's kind of like we academically challenge each other all the time. It's like, well, how about looking at it this way, or have you considered this? And I think that we both respect each other's opinions on things. And
Let me ask you this. You may or may not have an example of this. Has there been anything that you can think of where you're really unsure about whether it was a disagreement or a particular trip or situation where you had to trust me or take into consideration what my thought was or my opinion?
what I know that one time we were kind of adventuring, and we were going back into the woods, into a property that's owned by one of our family members.
Okay.
And next to it was this other property where there's like a trailer, and they have some cars up on blocks, and people sit out in the front yard.
Yeah.
And I'm taking Z back there because we're visiting, like, our family member's property. We're like walking down the road,
Yeah.
and Z's like, I don't feel comfortable next to that place.
Yes.
And I respected that. I mean, I like, again, that's something that I wouldn't be privy to, I wouldn't be aware of, being me, a white male person, like I feel like I could traverse the earth more or less, and I don't need to worry about who's looking at me or like, am I in the wrong place? But I understood, like what she was talking about, like those people who live there probably don't like people like her, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Well, it's funny now. I think that he's become more sensitive. Sometimes I'm not even thinking about these situations anymore, but he thinks about the situation and how comfortable it will be for me, our children, our
yeah.
son together. It has a little bit more chocolate hue to him. And so I feel like he's become more aware of that since our relationship, which I appreciate, right? It's the evolution, it's the learning process. And I think that's really critical in any relationship to be receptive and open to learning about the likes, the dislikes, of the individual that you're with.
And I have one. So
Yeah.
something where maybe you picked up on something that I brought into the relationship. Uh, the idea of the shared finances.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. So this is a really good point. So when we were, about to get married, we had the big talk, right? Money, right? That's the big talk besides children and all of that. And I was coming from the mindset that, hey, let's have separate bank accounts and maybe have a bank account also together. But we would also, my salary would go into my own bank account and then we can pool some money together in a joint bank account, right? Charles wanted to just combine everything. And that made me very, very, to say the least, uneasy. Like, you want me to do what with my money? Do what? And go ahead. You piggyback off of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my life experience, I'm an actuary. I'm used to managing money, and also in my previous relationships. Now I've always done combined finances, but in my previous relationships, that was because, well, for one reason, because I usually was the sole income. So it didn't really make sense to have separate finances. But then even going into the situation where there's two incomes, to me it's kind of like, okay, if you're living at the same place, we're paying the bills for everybody, we're buying food for everybody, we're both making money. I'm kind of lazy. Like, why would, like I don't want to have a pot of my money and then like a pot of our together money, and oh, it's time to transfer this money from here to here. Like, that doesn't make me happy at all. It's like all the money goes to the same place, and plus, God forbid if we ever got divorced, uh I know how these things are looked at. You look at each person's financial position before you got married, then you look at your combined financial position, and okay, how much money did you accumulate during your marriage? It doesn't matter if she's got X in her bank account and I've got Y in my bank account. It's all marital assets, right?
Right. And just to pause there, I think that's what I have to come to understand. Because in my mind, I'm like, what if, God forbid, he hits his head, loses his senses, and starts acting crazy with me, and we have to separate or go different ways? Is he going to take my money? And remind you, Charles, of course, was a lot further along in his career than I was. So I think he definitely has more assets than I do. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna be working and then he's gonna be able to get all my assets. And it wasn't until I actually understood, the legal aspect of things or how things would be viewed that I kind of came to terms like, if I trust them and I know, I guess, the law in regards to our marriage, why not have joint finances? So that was something that I think I had to get some understanding and gain some insight. But once I got there and knowing that I love him and I trust him, that was something that I think I shouldn't say came to terms to, but I was in agreement with. But it took for me to be open and receptive to that. I think it was the best thing that we or that I could have done as far as us having joint finances.
money's confusing enough as it is, and
Yeah,
having to add complexity to it. It's been like what? It's been 3 years
yeah,
that we've been doing it,
yeah.
and I mean, you don't regret the choice, right?
Correct. But always, ladies, always make sure, God forbid, just in case your partner, bumps her head and loses their mind and separates from you, that you have a career or some way or form to
Right.
make money. Side note.
Yeah, the most valuable asset that you have is your ability to go out and make money. So that's more important than anything.
Yeah, side note.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it. We wanted to kind of share that conversation. I thought it was a good conversation to have about how we've accommodated, how we've evolved as far as a couple. Anything you want to add in, my love?
No, I continue to be content with our relationship and challenged, on a weekly basis. And it's nice that I don't foresee like anything, that would ever make me not happy with what we built together.
Yeah, we're what? We're in year three?
Yeah. But I mean, we've really been together for 4 years.
Yeah, I've been together a year, but it's still exciting. And I always told Charles, just because of my personality, when I question him, it's just because that's my personality. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm not trying to.
Sometimes you are.
Sometimes you have to have a little bit of spice.
I can tell when she's trying to argue with me and when she's actually
No,
questioning
but
me.
sometimes I'm really not. It's just me, my natural nature, and I want to understand the why. And if it doesn't make sense, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna probe a little bit more. But yeah, I think he's gotten better. I think he appreciates that. He likes a little bit of a challenge every now and then.
It
Am I
wouldn't be,
wrong?
it's not fun to be with somebody who just agrees with you.
Yeah, a yes person. I mean, no offense to those who like that, but for us, I don't think that would be ideal.
Mm.
Well, anyway, on that note, we are about to be at Costco. We will talk to you guys later.